Welcome to What You Need to Grow, the podcast where entrepreneurs discover the inspiration and perspective shifts that fuel both personal and business growth. Each week, certified professional coach Jennie Bellinger brings you powerful conversations with thought leaders, subject matter experts, and innovative company leaders who share their stories of growth and the tools that made it possible. From fresh insights that expand your vision to resources you can explore on your own journey, every episode is designed to help you grow your knowledge, grow your vision, and grow your business. Now, here's your host, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome to What You Need to Grow. I am your host, Jennie Bellinger. Here on What You Need to Grow, we are always talking about the intersection between personal growth and business growth. And today, our guest, Candace Stuart-Findlay, is a personal and business growth intersectionalist. So what we're going to be talking about today will actually cover a little bit of both because she's had a foot in both of these worlds for a while. So let me introduce you to Candace Stuart-Findlay, a transformational powerhouse, author, and founder of the Empowered Whole Being Foundation. Candace helps entrepreneurs stop fighting the same old patterns that keep them stuck and start creating momentum that actually lasts. With over 30 years of experience blending business, quantum biology, metaphysics, and emotional patterning, she's here to show us why your next level of success isn't just another strategy, another checklist, or another do more plan. Sometimes the biggest thing blocking your growth isn't what you're doing, it's what's happening underneath the surface. Through her momentum to money experience, Candace helps entrepreneurs shift from contraction into expansion so they can show up boldly, take aligned action, and create the impact and income they're truly here for. Get ready, because today we're diving into the patterns you didn't even know were running the show. Welcome to What You Need to Grow, Candace.
Thank you, Jennie. That introduction was glorious.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed
I felt like I'm excited to hear what she says too.
That's great. Well, now you have a recording of it.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for that stellar introduction.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very excited to have you here because you and I met very briefly. We were in a room for 3 days together, and yet we didn't get much time together in the Strategic Alliance Live event. But we did know, because I do remember you being in the room and being like, I want to talk to her. And so when I saw you show up on my calendar, I was like, yes, this is going to be so good. So as we were talking before we got started, you were sharing a little bit about your history and how you got into the work that you're doing with the Empowered Whole Being Foundation. So how did you get to where you are now?
Okay, so on a higher level, I chose to come in with more expanded sensitivity, intuitive empath. As a child, there was a short period of time when they thought, she's a genius. But really, I was getting the information. Visually, I experience it like visually inside. I get the vibe. Here's an example. First grade, the teacher's explaining how to use a toothbrush. And this will show my age. They used to glue the bristles in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so she's explaining, now it's really important to remember to rinse your brush with cold water. Does anybody know why that is? Well, she was visualizing the bristles falling out. I right away saw it. I go, I know. And she's like,
yeah.
I explained what would happen, that the bristles would fall out and all that. So for a short period of time, that's, oh, she's a genius. When people would spell out, it's I go, oh, can I have a banana? And they like, I'm like 5. And so, but then as life went on, I became more entrenched in what I was experiencing, because I call that my research mode, where I'm learning how to recognize through the practice of contrast the difference between what I call agape love and fear. And so I grew up in a domestic violent home. My dad was so wounded, and he didn't know how to cope with it. And he coped with it with anger.
Mm.
He didn't feel safe. And so he wanted to protect himself. And so there was a lot of fear. And I went into the mode of being invisible and being afraid to express myself and, the usual kind of things.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting from studying quantum physics and biology, I see how when a child from usually 0 to 7 or 8 are mostly in what's called theta mode. And theta mode in the brain is the next after delta, where you're completely shut down to heal and restore the body and do all that. Theta mode is like being an energetic sponge.
Okay.
And so you take in all this energy, you don't know what to do with it. It's buried in the fascia. That's actually the point. That's that's an important part of the human expression to
Mm.
support the contrast research actions. So I grew up with that. That was embedded in me. Um, the feelings of not moving forward, not being seen, not being heard, it wasn't safe, all of that. And with that being in my trauma, in my fascia, in my consciousness, buried in my unconsciousness, I moved forward in life and was successful
Mm.
at a lot of inner sense of trauma. On the outside world, like many people have experienced, you're moving forward, you're being recognized, you're accomplishing things. On the inside, in the quiet moments, you're freaking out.
Yeah.
You're just like, the trauma is so intense. And the perspective at that time is that because of the fact that we live and experience human expression in a duality paradigm, everything being separate, us, I'm here, you're there, all of that, it's being done to me. That out there is coming to get me. And that's what I felt.
Mm.
And I created that over and over. But I blamed the outside world for it. It wasn't me. They were doing it to me. So going forward, experiencing more with I tried to shut it down for several years, the intuitive awareness. Couldn't
Yeah.
do it very well.
Yeah.
But I tried and came to the point several years ago where I went, okay, I'm going to accept it and I'm going to utilize it to do the best I can in my business. And so I began to do that. And then got more training to learn some different techniques on how to clear energy and did all these things. At the same time, unconsciously, was too afraid to really feel what I was feeling because it was traumatic.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had buried it so deeply how much trauma fear I had. So moving forward, during the shutdown in 2021, I became involved with Clubhouse, the audio app.
Yeah.
And I found an organization that's now an international nonprofit called the Daily Gratitude Movement. And I began to volunteer to moderate a room. And another gentleman and I did that together during 2021, 2022, 7 days a week. every morning. It took me
Wow.
3 months of doing that before I realized that the gratitude practice I thought I had, like writing it down and having my affirmations, which never worked. I had been thinking about feeling grateful, but I hadn't felt grateful. I hadn't actually
Ooh.
felt it. So then I began investigating gratitude. What is it? What is it about this energy? And I discovered that it's actually a combination of things, and that I studied the neuroscience of it. There's a really good book that I found about gratitude written by several neuroscientists and their research, and the quantum biological biophysics aspect of it. And then I got, wow, this is high powered. For someone like me, having the domestic violent experiences, I began to feel safe. When you practice gratefulness, it changes how you experience the effects of dopamine. That's just one of the many things. It through the practice of gratitude, you can actually manage your cortisol release.
Mm.
Cortisol is the only hormone, stress hormone that we have that has a receptor on every body cell. There's a cortisol receptor, every body cell.
Ooh.
So it has two jobs. One, like in the morning, big dose of cortisol is pulsed out into our system to have us wake up, to go from delta mode all the way to alpha and then to beta.
Okay.
So that's everybody has cortisol release like that. We wouldn't live without it. It's part of who we are and how we
Okay.
function. The other side of the coin is a fear messenger, because every body cell has a receptor
Mhm.
and it can be pulsed out every hour. Someone with my history, with the fear of being hurt or seeing your loved ones hurt, I was putting it out every hour for real without any knowledge of it. I just was living life bracing for the impact,
Mhm.
expecting or anticipating the impact. I wasn't embracing life, I was bracing of life, bracing of it.
Right.
So began studying the cortisol aspect of it, the fascia aspect of it. And it turns out it's so fascinating to me. I just think it's so beautiful how our bodies are designed. The somatic aspect of us is responsive. The body doesn't create anything, it responds to how we feel.
Mm.
In fact, we have a component in our bodies called the integer. Its job is to read where we're feeling. What are we feeling? How are we feeling? And it transmits if we're feeling fearful feelings, shame, blame, judgment, rejection. It transmits that. And then that causes the dehydration of our fascia. So it's not pliable, not functioning well. Fascia is really important. It
Yeah.
communicates everything in the body to everything. So
Okay.
this integer also, when we're in contraction, it modifies how our DNA um, replicates, the blueprint part of it.
Yeah.
I never knew that. And I was like, oh my God, we actually have a whole system to read our energy. So
Right.
I could go on into the science, but the thing about the mitochondria, the microtubules, I mean, everything is so beautifully designed to respond to spin.
Yeah.
There's two kinds of spin: contraction to the right and expansion to the left. And the expansion is the energy of agape love, gratitude, compassion. We call those things. It's can expansion spin. Contraction spin is fear-based, so that's shame, blame, judgment, um, lack of value, self-rejection, all of the ones that cause everything to contract.
Mm.
Because our body is designed to function at optimum when we are in a state of expansion. Our DNA only uses the left spinning portion of the amino acid molecule to create the chain.
Hmm.
The contraction part of the amino acid molecule, which by the way, they're chiral, handed. So to just hold shape and form, to create particles, to create connection, because expansion spin is just expanding. So the contraction holds shape and form. There's a purpose for it, it's logical. And then you have the feeling experience contraction, which is fear-based. And when we feel fearful, our DNA, the chains contract and begin to malfunction. And when we feel grateful, when we feel in alignment with what I call agape love, everything optimizes.
Mm.
I'm 77
Wow.
and I look younger now than I did 3 years ago. And it's because of what I've been doing with my inner work, healing my trauma fear
Yeah.
through the practice of gratefulness, realigning how my body feels so it's in alignment with optimized health.
Right.
And before I realized that, I came to a point where everything was contracting so much that I could barely walk
Ooh.
without being in so much pain that I would be tears.
Wow. So now you are in this energetic world, obviously. I mean, already in just these few minutes, you've shared so much around the physicality of this, but I know historically you came from a place of business. So looking back so tell us a little bit about your business experience, before you
Mm-hmm.
became before you became a coach, because then I want to dig into now how all of this aligns, because when I introduced you, I was like, she does both. Because
Well, people look at gratitude as being kind of like a fluff,
yeah.
whatever, and they align it with being thankful, but it's not. Energetically, they're different.
Okay.
You can be thankful for something and not participate in really receiving it. You can be thankful, but not really energetically connect to it. Grateful, you're present with that and you are embracing and acknowledging that you receive something.
Mm.
When you practice gratefulness, it helps to heal the lack of trust that I had. So, unaware of all of the trauma fear that I discovered last year,
Yeah.
I have some crazy stories, cool stories about that. But um, I was always interested in supporting women, organics, regeneration, all of that. I grew up with that. My mom was way ahead of everybody. She was a biologist and she really raised us with an awareness of what we ate and why that's important.
Okay.
And so early on in the 80s, I began um, being involved with a natural foods distributor.
Oh, okay.
And we, back then, it was all startup stuff, right? And so we ended up becoming the manager of that company. And we had routes for most of California, northern and southern.
Mhm.
And Um, that was the beginning. And the more I worked in it, the more I became dedicated to that class of trade. And I ended up working in every aspect of the industry.
Okay.
Managing that first beginning small distribution company, then working for a larger distributor, and then moving into food broker. I did that for a couple years, and then from there I became the assistant sales manager and then the national sales manager for Good Earth Tea. And I
Okay.
did that for several years. And from there, I started my own business, Results National Sales. And I was a contracted national sales manager and also a business coach for my clients. And I worked with several companies. One of them was Ticino Herbal Coffee, another one was Lotus Foods Rice. And they really embodied what was important to me. And I personally chose to work with, if possible, women-owned companies, with veteran-owned companies. Both my sons served in the Marine Corps, and I know what a challenge it can be for the families and the veterans when they are out of service. So I had that background, and I plunged in it just full on. And I had that business for over 3 decades. I was the first one that offered that in the industry, and it became, now there's several people doing that. And it's such a benefit for a natural foods manufacturer to have someone on board that understands how the whole system works and
Right.
understands how to set up the SOPs, standard operating procedures, you know, things that just they may not have on their radar because they're busy developing a fantastic product.
Yeah.
So did that, came to a point where my intuitive empath skills, um, or natural affinity towards, became so potent for me to focus on. I had diminished, I had kind of sidelined that for several years. I couldn't stop it. I just didn't focus on it. And it just became important for me to not be in the natural grocery industry. For me, it became too aggressively not thinking of community or building, and had strong community focus in the beginning. But then after Amazon bought Whole Foods, in my opinion, it really changed
Mm.
and became more ruthless. And I just couldn't do it. And so I closed my business. I just closed it. And then I was guided to a group of business coaches. As I mentioned earlier, I don't even know how I got the invite. But
Right.
anyway, I was invited to a webinar, and I was like, oh my God, these people are practicing gratefulness. These people are building community. And I signed up
Yeah.
and began the process of healing. I know that they would probably wish me further along, but I had to I had to clear the sales um, mind bended approach that I had from the natural grocery industry. And also, it was important for me to heal the trauma fear that was now coming up, because that's one of the benefits of practicing gratefulness, is that as you become more, as you feel more safe, those unconscious limiting beliefs start to rise up and become noticeable. They're there. We don't even know they're there until we're ready to actually heal them.
Right.
And so stuff began to come up, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, I kind of knew that there was stuff there, but I didn't know how much it affected me in my decisions and how I created the things together and all. And
Is it okay if we dig into some of those? Because
Yeah.
my curiosity, not that we have to go like super deep. I'm not like trying to make you cry or anything here,
No, I'm
but
beyond that because I have a different approach. Because practicing
right.
gratefulness, I'm grateful for everything I've experienced. I'm grateful for the
Love that.
contrast of my father. I mean, I understand how he got there.
Yeah.
So I also have body boundary violation experiences too. So not feeling safe was a huge part of my experience, my contrast research experience.
Right.
So
So
in 2008, let me just say this. In
yeah.
2008, I got strong guidance, higher guidance to start studying quantum physics in
Okay.
conjunction with metaphysics. So I began doing that. And then I was guided to an article by at that point he was a microbiologist. He's now a biophysicist. William Brown. He's a member of the team of the Harriman. Um, gosh, I lost his last name. But there's a whole scientific quantum theoretical and a biophysical research team that's been going on for years, and something that William Brown wrote just clicked. So
Okay.
we began to collaborate. This was in 2012.
Gotcha.
And he actually wrote the foreword for my latest book, which I have behind me here, The Interdimensional Mechanics of Consciousness, understanding and embrace the beauty of who and what we are.
Oh, wow.
And so, in that process, though, I began to see the logic of everything because I wanted to understand energy because I was overwhelmed. I was buried, sinking deep, and feeling everything around me and not knowing how to manage it, how to mitigate it. And it was overwhelming. So I began to study quantum physics, went to a seminar with Dr. Bruce Lipton and all, did things like that. And then it began to make sense. Things began to make sense. And from that place, I was able to understand more clearly, but I still wasn't shifting how I felt. But I was laying the groundwork, the foundation to better understand human consciousness.
Hmm.
So then um, I came to the point of last year. Last year, after practicing gratefulness with the Daily Gratitude Movement nonprofit organization for 4 years, I was finally at a place where I could feel differently than fearful, that I began to trust it. And with the day that I recognized that I had no trust, not for me, not trust of higher power, not trust of anything. Finally, I talked about having trust, but I didn't feel it.
Mm.
And it's a big difference. And
Yeah.
when I realized that, I went, okay, what do I need to do to heal that? So then information would come up, and then I would look at it, work with it, process it. I have developed methodology to get into the unconscious limiting beliefs. And I have clients, I've been doing that for years, and it's just been getting better and better. And as I've studied what's really going on in the human awareness, so all of that has brought me to where I am today. And last year was tough. There were experiences of releasing trauma fear because I was releasing it from my fascia.
Yeah.
Physical things were happening. If I may share one, when I was 26, um, I created a T-bone car accident. I was driving, and in the midst of a big argument with my then husband, which was a replication of my father, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
So I went into my victim, I withdrew into victim, and I was just, and so I turned left in front of the car, and he got he got hit more because he was in the passenger seat. But I ignored going and getting treatment or anything after the accident. So in 2 weeks later, I couldn't move my neck and all that. Last year, as I'm working on this kind of stuff, looking at it, understanding why I did what I did and what it was really about, there came a point when I was going to the chiropractic, had a treatment, a lot of things were moving. Then I went to lunch with my sister, and while I was in the restaurant, the sounds of the chairs moving on the floor, the sounds from the kitchen were so loud. It was just like I was cringing. I've never experienced that like that before. And what I realized after is that my body was releasing the trauma of what I heard and felt in that accident.
Oh, wow.
And then my
Interesting.
body began to heal and release in areas that I just hadn't been able to have progress in before. So
Right.
these are the kind of things that can happen and will happen depending on what experiences you've had earlier in life. But just know whatever you've experienced is buried in your fascia. The sound, the feeling of it, it's all programmed in, it's all held until we can look at it and lovingly heal it back into wholeness.
Mm.
So
Mm.
over, burying those feelings, and I've done all this, overriding them, rationalizing them. It's outside. Something did this to me. That just keeps them in place. Being able
Right.
to look at them as data. The biggest thing of everything is to cease identifying with them as who you are. Because
Yeah.
those experiences gave you data for researching and feeling the difference between and the contrast between agape love and fear. That's what it boils down to.
Right.
But they're not who you are. And who you are is magnificent.
Right.
And so being able to detach from identifying with an experience as being something about who you are is a big step towards being free of them.
Interesting. Okay. So, with this connected to the unconscious limiting beliefs, right? It sounds like these are all in that same
Mm-hmm.
realm then. Um, for someone who's in business, especially if they're an entrepreneur, a business owner,
Right.
self-employed, um, they may have some thoughts or some beliefs about themselves that could be limiting or stopping them. What do you see most commonly when you're working with entrepreneurs, in terms of the beliefs that they're holding that are
Mm-hmm.
like standing in their way of the success that they want, but they don't know how to get past that belief or how to get over that? What are some of those beliefs? And then how can somebody begin to work past those?
I would say the number one core, universal, everybody has it in their system, is the connection between belonging and value.
Mm.
And so I'm
Tell me
going to,
more about that.
yeah, I'm going to put it this way. So this is how I perceive human consciousness. We actually are what I call singularity consciousness. We we separate from that collective experience to experience human expression, to do this research work of contrast between love and fear. And in order to do that, our ability to feel the immense, gorgeous energy of what we are is deflected, diminished, blocked. We can
Okay.
feel fear easy peasy,
Yeah.
but not love. And so that's important to do this contrast work. So the trauma of being separated like that is deep. And that ties into value, and that ties into, if I do this, then I'll be valued and I'll belong.
Mm-hmm.
And we get into that fear-based loop. Am I doing enough? Am I coming across strong enough in business? Am I making the right decisions? But underneath that, if I don't do this, then I don't belong. And along with that, there's this unconscious limiting belief, again, universal, that is an anticipation of annihilation by external forces.
Hmm.
Now, this is tied into the very beginning of man, migratory, tribal. If you didn't provide for the tribe in some way, its well-being, you were either killed or left behind.
Right.
And remember that our mitochondria, which holds a lot of programming for how our body functions, always comes from the mother. And they have this metaphorical name for it in the science world, mitochondria Eve. Who that person is, I have no idea. But they're saying that all of that energy, all of that programming is downloaded from one woman to the next, to the man, or whether you have a son or a daughter, they get your mitochondria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how we procreate. And that's how we also continue energetic, fear-based limiting beliefs.
Wow. Okay.
It's to me, it's magical how well we're created to do this higher purpose work of contrast research. Anyway, so that's one of them. That's the most important one. And then from that value thing, you have fear keeps you safe.
Yeah.
Love is painful. These are also universal research beliefs.
Hmm.
It helps support the diminishing of feeling safe enough to love at that higher level. And this is what happens with two people. They get together, they're in that um, oxytocin, that first beginning. It's all like,
New relationship energy, as we call it,
yeah.
right?
And then when each, and this is what I experienced because my father, I just, like I said, I married my father twice.
Oh my. Okay.
So anyway, so then um, the fear of loving kicks in.
Yeah.
And so that makes it really difficult to maintain a relationship because then that blaming happens, the shaming happens. The woman, sometimes like me, there's two ways to experience fear, either as the recessively or aggressively. I was recessive. I victimized myself. I pulled back in. My
Okay.
father was aggressive. Anger.
Yeah.
So anger is a secondary form of fear. So that's the two ways people express fear, recessive or aggressive. And so that just supports the whole higher purpose of research and the contrast between love and fear.
Mm.
And this is why it's so important to understand the power, the transformative power of practicing gratefulness.
Yeah.
Until I started doing that, I wasn't able. I did so many things. I went to so much, spiritual and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I started studying. I mean, even I studied quantum physics for years before I started working. I started like in 2008. I joined the Daily Gratitude Movement in 2021. And it wasn't until like 3 months in that I realized I hadn't been feeling grateful. And when I began to look at that, how important how we feel. Now, I'm not talking about perfection or happiness.
Right.
Because when you're feeling grateful, there's going to be challenges. And because stuff's going to come up. And
Okay.
if you identify with that limiting belief, then you're going to struggle. However, if you're able to step back, view it as data, not confirmation of who you are or not, then you can work with it. And that's what I finally learned how to do. And now that's the work that I'm doing now for other people. Because it's just little sidebar, but it's entangled and connected. Women in this country have had a raw deal for a long time.
Mm.
There is a law called coverture that was brought by the colonizers in the very beginning of our country. It was English law, and it states that women have no identity.
Mm.
It's the male. The male owns, has the money, the male can buy a house, the male can accumulate, revenue, whatever. And the woman was owned. I'm going to put different words into it, but basically owned by the male, the father, the husband, the brother,
Yeah.
very much like some of the more radical Jewish, not Jewish, Muslim kind of things, and even Jewish, because I practiced Judaism for a few years. My first marriage to my father was
Yeah.
Jewish, so I converted.
Okay.
And so in that framework, women didn't have any way to be independent. That's why domestic violence was so powerful back then, and it still is, but it's less than it was then. So it wasn't until the late 60s that women could actually get a divorce.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 72 that women could have their own checking account. It wasn't until 74 that women could have a credit card.
Right.
So then women could begin to create a safe way out of a bad situation. And so, and I'm very grateful for Ruth Bader Ginsburg because she, as a lawyer, is the one that created that to happen.
Wow.
She went and in front of the Supreme Court and argued that it would benefit men if women had more foundation in creating financial balance. So
Yeah.
anyway, when you add that, and it wasn't really talked about, it just was assumed this is the way it is.
Yeah.
And I noticed today, women of my age bracket, starting like even the 40s on up, don't realize how much they have been affected by that cultural suppression. And in doing this work, we're also looking at that. How much of that is really true for you today?
Right.
What's really holding us back? Our own self perception, our perception of what could be real for us.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that because included in everything else as a business owner, that I understand. I mean, I fought my way through a lot of situations in boardrooms.
Yeah.
So I would do things like this little, I would do whatever I needed to do. Well, not whatever, but,
Within within the boardroom, right?
within the boardroom to make my point,
Yeah.
to develop connection, because it was based upon winning at
Yeah.
whatever cost. And it didn't
Which
matter.
is a very that's a very masculine energy and way of being, right? Not that there's anything wrong,
No,
just saying it tends to come from a more masculine energy.
because men because of the coverture law, were also affected. They were then, on their shoulders was being the provider protector,
Right.
and some men couldn't deal with that pressure,
Mm.
and that was really tough for
Yeah.
both parties, for the family. So all of this cultural influence is in the whole system. So when you want to scale your business and you want to expand it, there's a lot that's in the way unconsciously that's important to reframe.
Yeah.
I have a thing called the FR. It's feeling, frequency, alignment, reframe. And
Mm.
we learn, and that's part of what I teach is and do the um, support system for is learning how to use these inner tools to help be free of these limiting beliefs and reframe what they are. So for me, part of that by practicing gratefulness and researching all these different things, I've come to a point where I'm reframing challenges now or opportunities because
Yeah.
everything that comes up is an opportunity to grow and be free.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
I I get excited and oh my God, another one. I had one just this past Monday about abundance because
Mm.
growing up the way I did, when I thought about abundance prior years ago, I felt lack. I felt constricted, afraid, because abundance is the next level, higher level of receptivity.
Yeah.
When we feel safe enough to receive, we're abundant naturally.
Ooh. That hit interestingly. That feeling safe enough to receive. I think you said it earlier.
But he
Um,
didn't have a framework, it hit.
right, right. And so that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh my gosh. We've got so much. So really quickly, I want to clarify. So you said your FFAR is feeling, frequency, alignment, and reframe. Is that right? Okay. So I'm I just put that in the Zoom chat so I remember to put that in the notes because I think that's an important piece. And there's so much around gratitude. I mean, one of the things that I have said now, I have two podcasts. My first one is called Badass Direct Sales Mastery, and that is for network marketers, um, uh, direct sellers, and MLM professionals and leaders. And I would say probably the last 100 to 150 episodes of that show, one of the ways that I've ended that show is always by asking the listener that if they got something from the episode, to reach out and express their gratitude to the guest. Like, please connect with the guest and please let them know what you learned because we want to make sure that gratitude, comes back to the person who shared it, right? And and but the focus was on the action, not on the feeling of the gratitude. So
Mm.
that's a big aha moment because I think it's interesting. I'm rereading the Success Principles by Jack Canfield right now.
Mm.
And one of the suggestions he makes in one of the chapters that I just got done reading is to have a gratitude journal. And he talks about like feeling it, but he spent like a sentence or two, maybe a paragraph on it, but not like I didn't feel the emphasis to
This is true.
sit in the
Dr. Joe
feeling of
Dispenza,
it.
Dr. Bruce Lipton. I mean, these are great, great. And they're missing a key element of the whole system. They talk about a lot of it, but the most important thing they don't quite connect with is your groin area.
Huh.
That's where the fear energy is embedded.
Huh.
The sexual organs are hardwired by the stress nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
T12. T12 is hardwired to your small intestine, sugar
Mm.
regulation, nutrition absorption, all of that functionality. Then L1, L2, and the sacrum. Now, L1, colon. L2, the pelvic area, pelvic floor, the whole area. And sacrum is our pump from the lower part of our body to up to the brain of the cerebral spinal fluid.
Oh, interesting.
When there's a lot of unconscious trauma fear, like I had, weight gaining or anemia, not anemia, but what do you call it when you don't eat? I forgot. Anorexia.
Oh,
Yeah.
anorexia. Yes.
Okay. So not being able to digest your food properly, having lack, not being able to release certain hormones, and all of that is controlled by what I'm feeling. I didn't know it. And when I first discovered this whole nervous system wiring, I went, holy God. And then that led me to seeing that the kidneys, the two kidneys, are right above, the vagin or the sexual organs, the groin area.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the adrenals are right on top.
Yep.
The kidneys are only wired to the sympathetic nervous system. They
Interesting.
only respond to stress.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because we do talk about peeing your pants because you're so scared, right?
So
Right?
when you think about that, it's so
Yeah.
logical though, because here you have your adrenals right above,
Yeah.
and the cortisol is influenced by how you feel. That's the only way you can manage it.
Mm-hmm.
Having that groin area fear of being vulnerable, being not safe, helps support the release of cortisol. It's all so logically put together.
Hmm.
And when you add to the fact that cortisol is also partly, it's also managed by, they call it the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenals.
Okay.
So when we're feeling fear and we have those fear thoughts and imagined, and oh, that's going to happen. What if this happens? What if that happens? Then that activates more cortisol being released in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the power to reframe that once we understand and learn how to remember how it feels to not be in fear.
Yeah.
That it's safe enough. And that gratitude practice is the only thing that I know of from my research
Right.
that can do that.
That's amazing. And I want to begin to kind of wrap this up because something came up as you were for me as you were saying that, which is when we're talking about reframing, one of the things that I regularly say, and I heard it from one of my coaches, Virginia Mooskies, is, what's the story you're telling yourself? Right? What's the story like? And so that right there, that's part of the reframe process is to identify, okay, what was the story I was telling myself around this, right? And I regularly talk to people about when they say that they're scared to sell. And I'm like, okay, let's dig into that because what's scary about it, right? Like what's the story behind that? Well, and then when we get into the body feelings of it where they clench up, and you can just feel the tenseness around that. But also all of the same things that happen with that could also be interpreted and the story could be told that it's excitement. But they're choosing to say, I'm scared, I'm fearful of selling, instead of saying, I'm excited to solve someone's problem.
That is a part of it. That is a part of it. Absolutely.
Right.
when you're when a person remembers how it feels to not feel fear,
Yeah.
then you can do that way more easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, what happens, depending on the person's unconscious programming, it can really activate the fear triggers in the body.
Yeah.
And they can just like,
Yeah.
so having, we have this belief in human expression that letting go of something until we know what replaces it is not safe.
Mm.
So, learning how to utilize the tools we already have, breath work, practicing gratitude, gives us a place to go that's safe.
Got
So
it.
then you can reframe more easily. But asking a person to reframe before they know how to feel differently,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Mm.
It'll cause a lot of trauma. I mean, I understand, I've been through that.
Yeah.
I would then beat myself up. Oh, you're failing. You can't do this. And then that creates more fear energy
Mm.
because I'm losing my value. I might be annihilated. That's
Wow.
not a conscious thought, but that's what's happening energetically.
Right. Well, speaking of energy, we are going to, and I want to let the what you need to grow listener know that after we wrap up this episode, you and I are going to record a short training about managing your energy and how you switch that and what do you do? Like, what are some of those actual techniques for shifting energy and managing the energy that you have? Because one of the things that we as solopreneurs and entrepreneurs um, often deal with is how do we manage our energy? Because if we're the only person in our business doing X, Y, and Z, we've got to be able to manage our physical energy, but also the energy, the vibration, the frequency that we're bringing to things. So I cannot wait to do that with you. I'm so excited to see what you have to share with that. But before we do that, you have a wonderful gift for the listener right now. And this is an audio program that you have created to help people begin to dig into this gratefulness because you've mentioned it so many times during our conversation how important it is,
Mhm.
and so really digging into that feeling grateful piece. So tell us about the Feeling Grateful Mastery audio that you have.
Oh, I'm excited to do that. Um, so this is a 15-minute visualization slash meditation, and it guides you through a process to begin to using something in nature, because I call it a nature activator, because
Mm,
nature, the subatomic structure of nature is very expansive.
yeah,
And that's why we could hug trees and all of that. It's because we're right away assimilating more of that expansion energy, which just feels so good. The point is, though, when you visualize, it doesn't matter. In that now moment, you're there
yeah,
and you begin to feel the difference. So it guides you on how to shift energy, how to align and feel gratitude. And so there's that. And I do want to mention real quick that I'm so supportive of people being able to learn and remember how to practice gratefulness, how to feel it. I've developed an app that is it's on the Apple Store now, but it's not functioning perfectly. I'm in the midst of working with a developer, but that whole app is not about a journal. I mean, there's a journal aspect in it with the microphone, you can record your thoughts, but it's about learning how to recalibrate your feeling frequency.
ooh,
And I have several different options of recalibration processes in there. And then there's a way to track it and also to have push notifications so reminding you, oh, I'm supposed to stop and pause and feel grateful. And the more you do that, the easier it gets and the more you shift.
Right.
So that is something I just want people to know I've got that. So back to the MP3. I'm happy to offer that because I would love to support people in feeling better about themselves.
That's
I think it's
awesome.
important, doesn't matter men or women, but especially for me, having gone through what I've gone through and experienced, I want to support women and reframing the, and seeing the value of who they are. We have innate value. It's not proving it to anybody, it's just being present with what
Yeah.
we already have.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's fantastic. So, to help the listener understand, so if this is an audio that you are interested in grabbing a copy of, we do have the link that will take you directly to the place where you can request that audio. It is complimentary, and the link is in the show notes. So, if you're listening on an app from your phone, grab your phone as long as you're not driving, click on the episode and scroll underneath the picture there, and you'll see in the show notes or in the episode notes will be the link directly to the Feeling Grateful Mastery audio. So you can directly click in there and grab that download. And download it. If you are on YouTube, just look right under the video, right under here. So it's in the description. You may have to click show more to see what's there, but I promise the link is also in the YouTube as well. So Candace, thank you so much for being here. I
thank
so
you.
appreciate you. And of course, we'll also have the link in the whatyouneedtogrow.com gift vault. So, which is also where people can now find the mastering your energy training that we're about to go into. So, if you would like to listen in, watch, enjoy this mastering energy training that Candace is going to do for you, you can check it out on the Facebook group. So go to What You Need to Grow podcast community, join that group, and the video will be in there unless Meta has changed things. But no matter what, you can always go to whatyouneedtogrow.com, click on the gift vault, jump into the gift vault, and find the episode from Candace Stuart-Findlay, including this Mastering Your Energy training bonus that is in there for you. So thank you so much. I'm going to take a second here. Let's all feel the gratitude for what Candace has shared with us today.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you too. This was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for being able to share this information for people to know that they have options.
I love this too. I'm so excited. So thank you again, Candace, for being here. And of course, what you need to grow, listeners, remember, stay tuned because you never know what you'll need to grow.
Thank you for listening to What You Need to Grow. Be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Want updates straight to your inbox? Sign up at whatyouneedtogrow.com and you'll get notified each time a new episode goes live. Here's to your growth. This has been What You Need to Grow with Jennie Bellinger.